Subliminal message.
You see what I'm doing there, huh?
Subliminal message guy.
All right, we're going live, Haley. Hit me up in that Slack thread.
Matt said he's here.
Yo, the first person here. I love it. Hezekiah, is that right? Nice. Where are you from, Hezekiah? Hello. Hey, Kelly. Everybody's kind of trickling in here. I love it. We went ahead and kind of started a little bit early. Dee, hey, y'all, you must be from the South. Hezekiah, you are Michigan, or Michigan is what you said. Kurt, hey, what's up, buddy? Thank you so much. Glenn, Mackie Campbell, hey, from Colorado. What part of Colorado, brother? Pumped for this, Dalton. Hey, I am too, man. I don't know if you can see this sweet office. So we are literally in Jonathan Mason's office, and it is really, really sweet. My cubicle does not look like this. You can see here, I mean, he's got windows. You can't really see that. They were literally just shooting a commercial or something, or a music video, like right down there. Jay, we got Mackie, Stacy, Linda, Bill, Drew. I love it. Hey, if you just joined us, we are going to get started in like 5 minutes. And so I'm just going to kind of, greet, and we might kind of chat a little bit here until we get started. But my name is Keith Cook. This is Rocket Company. We are going to be talking literally about how to write songs that your church can sing. It's going to be super, super good. Yep. So let's see, Oscar, Trish, David, Andrew. I love this. I love this. Guys, we're going to get started in just a minute. Hey. That's up, man. I'm Matt. Hey, Matt. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, too.
Can we mute this for a second?
Awesome. All right. Hey, y'all put a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me okay. We're working off of this mic right here. Can y'all see this? I bet half of y'all probably own this thing. Give me a 1 in the chat if y'all can hear me. If you just joined us, my name is Keith Cook with the Rocket Company. Bam. I'm loving the ones. Loving the ones. That's actually faster than I can even read. All right. If you just joined us, my name is Keith Cook. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. You guys tell me where you're from. What mic is that?
The blue.
Blue, yeah, like Snowball or something. It's a USB mic. It's really good for stuff like this. Maybe even kind of getting some song ideas out. Where are y'all from? Pam, I see you. Sabrina, Vicky, New Zealand. Are you kidding me, Vicky? Yeah. You win the award tonight for the farthest away. Savannah, Georgia, Indiana, Glenn. I love it. I love it. If you just joined us, my name is Keith Cook. And you are in the right place. We're going to be talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. And I've got some incredible, incredible guests that I'm going to introduce in just a minute. And we're going to get going in just a second. Roland, what's up, Roland? Zach, California. Oklahoma. I love it, Glenn. Billy from Philly. I think you did that on purpose, brother. All right, we're going to get started in just a minute. Just a minute. All right, so y'all hang loose. We kind of need to chat for a minute. And then we're going to get going. So this is literally kind of the schedule of kind of what loosely, I'm lining it up as close as I can to that. And then, should be good to go. All right, guys, y'all still coming in. Did I see Chris Tomlin listening in? I doubt it. I bet Chris is busy, or maybe, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not. Barry from Portland, Jay, Anna,
T-O-M-L-A-N.
Stephanie,
Oh, yeah.
Paul from Florida. I love it, brother. Chris Tomlin. Yeah, I'm here. I love it. I love it. Zach, Bill, you need more guitars on the wall. I've told him that. Whit, Mickey from Crossroads Community Church. Mickey, where is that? Where is that? Maybe, what's the URL for that church? I want to look at it. We got Bob. We've got Minister Caroline. I like that. Timothy, John, Brittany. Brittany here from Houston, Texas. Hey, I got a lot of family out that way. Vancouver. I was just in Whistler a couple months ago, man. Love it out there. There we go. There we go. Southwick. I love it. All right, Mickey. There's the URL. Cool. Daniel. I love it. Hey, do any of you folks own this? If you can see it, it's called Service Craft. Just kind of curious. Give me a 1 if any of you guys own it. It's kind of a new resource right here, but I was going to kind of walk y'all through it in a bit. David from, was it Refuge Church maybe? Kurt, how's it going? Michael W. Smith, what's going on? Hey, brother, good to see you again, man. That's awesome. If you just joined us, my name is Keith Cook. In 1 minute, we are going to get started, and we're going to be talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. I've got some incredibly awesome guests with me. I'm going to introduce them in just a minute. Rick Taylor, Ones. Okay, awesome. So y'all got this book. That's killer. I love it. I use this to plan out a lot of worship services. I'm going to get into it in just a little bit. All right, I'm going to let a couple more people jump in here. We got Rick and David, Colette, Colby, Josh, Art, David, Andrew, Josiah. Where are y'all from? Keep letting me know here. Keep letting me know. Just ordered it. Jesse, love it. I love to hear that. Where do I get that book? Well, I will tell you in just a second. Paul, where can I get it? You're going to love it. Lynette from Bronx, New York. Boom. I love it. Hey, guys, if you just joined us, we're going to get started right now. My name is Keith Cook, and I am kind of the worship team leader for Rocket Company. And it is literally my job to bring you guys resources that will help you take it to the next level. And so it doesn't matter literally where you're at on your journey. And if you are, I know I've talked to some of y'all, you're leading worship for thousands. You've got multiple services. You've got a huge congregation. Those are the kind of folks that I'm talking to. And I'm also talking to the kind of the startups and the folks who they just started leading worship maybe, and they don't know how to choose songs. They don't know, maybe they're learning their instrument a little bit better. Maybe they're new believers and they just love worship and they're trying to maybe get into it. We also create resources for you guys as well. So it's my job to bring you resources that can take you to that next level. That's what we're doing today. A lot of y'all emailed me and you said, I want to learn how to write songs. If you remember the last webinar that I did, give me a 1 in the chat if you've been on any of my other webinars. I know that we've talked about books that you guys could maybe be reading, and also kind of performance tips. We did that one up here at Word as well. And 1, Kelly, I love it. Melissa, David, I love it. Dee Dee, Gary, thank y'all for jumping back on here again. But I took y'all's information and I took the emails that y'all sent me, and you said, I want to learn how to write songs, but not just any songs. I want them to be for my church. And so that's literally what I've come and gotten with these folks right here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of introduce these folks. And you know what? The coolest part is, if any of you guys look at this, it might be grainy. This is Chris Lover. I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm kind of getting a little giddy. This is awesome. Look at this. They're right there. Do it. That's the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce. We've got Benji. Did you say your name? Is it Cowart? Cowart. Okay, Benji Cowart, and your wife. I'm spacing on your name. Jenna. So sorry, Jenna and Matt. Okay, my notes are on the floor, guys, and I cannot even find where I put them. But these folks are responsible for, let's just say, a lot of songs. Do you mind the self-promotion of what all songs you've kind of written?
Yeah, no, not at all. Jen and I have we've written some songs. We wrote a song called At the Cross. And then I got to be a part of writing with
Matt too.
Well, yeah. Matt,
That was
you
all
did
three
write
of
that. It's like I got written out of that. No, Matt was writing on that too. I totally like that.
That was with Sayla did that.
Yeah, Sailor recorded that, and then but then I got to write Redeemed with Big Daddy Weave, and another song called The Only Name with Big Daddy Weave. And then I'm trying to think of just the songs that might have gotten sung in congregations. Another one is it's called I'm Going Free, parenthetical title Jailbreak with Vertical Church Band.
Nice.
So those are some of them. And then Matt's got a very impressive.
Well, speaking of At the Crosses, I've written a couple At the Crosses.
That's a good title.
I wrote the song At the Cross, Love Ran Red, co-wrote with Chris Tomlin's record. And I've written a song called Eyes on You with Christine DeMarco as a part of Jesus Culture. And a couple other things that on radio and some other things that have in the church. And
Nice.
A plethora of songs of Benji. So.
All right, you guys hearing us okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if y'all are hearing us okay before we kind of jump into more of the meat here. All right, nice. Kurt, love Jailbreak. That's awesome. That's so cool. I can vouch for these guys. I forget who that was because the chat kind of jumped up. 1, sweet, you can hear us okay. I love it. All right, cool. So we're talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. Why is that even a big deal? Like, why is that? I guess, why do these guys want to find out more about that kind of stuff? And why do they want to learn? And how did you even get started in the songwriting kind of world?
Yeah, I mean, my starting place, and still I think is a great reason to write a song, especially, I mean, and I definitely understand we were the worship leaders for 15 years full time on staff at churches, and we just the last 3 years have been writing and still lead worship. But for me as a writer, one of the best motivations and best places to get ideas for song was just to write the song that I wish somebody else had written for my church, and then finally realizing maybe I'm supposed to be the somebody else to write it.
Idea.
And so a lot of songs that we've written have come from that place of going, hey, I need this song for this moment in worship, and nobody else has written it, so maybe I should write it.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
How long ago, like, did you kind of make that transition?
The first song I remember writing that we sang in church was probably because our first church job was between 2000 and 2003, and so it was somewhere in there that I actually wrote a song that we taught to the congregation and sang it. And then kind of after that, just kept doing that, got better and better. Obviously, I mean, it's a 15-year process for me.
It doesn't matter literally where you're at on your journey. And if you are, I know I've talked to some of y'all, you're leading worship for thousands. You've got multiple services. You've got a huge congregation. Those are the kind of folks that I'm talking to. And I'm also talking to the kind of the startups and the folks who they just started leading worship maybe, and they don't know how to choose songs. They don't know, maybe they're learning their instrument a little bit better. Maybe they're new believers and they just love worship and they're trying to maybe get into it. We also create resources for you guys as well. So it's my job to bring you resources that can take you to that next level. That's what we're doing today. A lot of y'all emailed me and you said, I want to learn how to write songs. If you remember the last webinar that I did, give me a 1 in the chat if you've been on any of my other webinars. I know that we've talked about books that you guys could maybe be reading, and also kind of performance tips. We did that one up here at Word as well. And 1, Kelly, I love it. Melissa, David, I love it. Dee Dee, Gary, it is. Thank y'all for jumping back on here again. But I took y'all's information and I took the emails that y'all sent me, and you said, I want to learn how to write songs, but not just any songs. I want them to be for my church. And so that's literally what I've come and gotten with these folks right here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of introduce these folks. And you know what? The coolest part is, if any of you guys look at this, it might be grainy. This is Christian Musician Magazine. These folks on the cover, I don't know if you can see this or not. I'm kind of getting a little giddy. This is awesome. Look at this. They're right there. Do it. That's the coolest thing ever. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce. We've got Benji. Did you say your name? Is it Cowart? Cowart. Okay, Benji Cowart, and your wife. I'm spacing
Jenna.
On your name.
Jenna.
So sorry, Jenna and Matt. Okay, my notes are on the floor, guys, and I cannot even find where I put them. But these folks are responsible for let's just say a lot of songs. Do you mind the self-promotion of what all songs you've kind of written?
Yeah, no, not at all. Jen and I have we've written some songs. We wrote a song called At the Cross. And then I got to be a part of writing with
Matt too.
Well, yeah. Well, oh, yeah. Matt,
That was
you
all
did write
three of
that. It's like I got written out of that. No, Matt was writing on that too. I totally like that.
That was what Sayla did that.
Yeah, Sailor recorded that, and then but then I got to write "Redeemed" with Big Daddy Weave, and another song called "The Only Name" with Big Daddy Weave, and then I'm trying to think of just the songs that might have gotten sung at congregations. Another one is it's called "I'm Going Free," parenthetical title "Jailbreak" with Vertical Church Band.
Nice.
So those are some of them. And then Matt's got a very impressive.
Well, speaking of At the Crosses, I've written a couple At the Crosses.
That's a good title.
I wrote the song At the Cross Lever in Red, co-wrote with Chris Tomlin's record. And I've written a song called Eyes on You with Christine DeMarco as a part of Jesus Culture. And a couple other things that on radio and some other things that have in the church. And
Nice.
A plethora of songs with Benji. So.
All right, you guys hearing us okay? Give me a 1 in the chat if y'all are hearing us okay before we kind of jump into more of the meat here. All right, nice. Kurt, love Jailbreak. That's awesome. That's so cool. I can vouch for these guys. I forget who that was because the chat kind of jumped up. 1, sweet, you can hear us okay. I love it. All right, cool. So we're talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. Why is that even a big deal? Like, why is that? I guess, why do these guys want to find out more about that kind of stuff? And why do they want to learn? And how did you even get started in the songwriting kind of world?
Yeah, I mean, my starting place, and still I think is a great reason to write a song, especially, and I definitely understand. We were the worship leaders for 15 years full time on staff at churches, and we just the last 3 years have been writing and still lead worship. But for me as a writer, one of the best motivations and best places to get ideas for song was just to write the song that I wish somebody else had written for my church, and then finally realizing maybe I'm supposed to be the somebody else to write it.
Idea.
And so a lot of songs that we've written have come from that place of going, hey, I need this song for this moment in worship, and nobody else has written it, so maybe I should write it.
Wow. Yeah. How long ago, like, did you kind of make that transition?
The first song I remember writing that we sang in church was probably because we were at our first church job was between 2000 and 2003. And so it was somewhere in there that I actually wrote a song that we taught to the congregation and sang it. And then kind of after that, just kept doing that, got better and better. Obviously, it's a 15-year process for me of learning to do it better and kind of figuring, you start learning what people sing well and what they don't. And, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you begin to also know the people that you're in front of every week and know their stories. And sometimes you get stuff from the people that are right in front of you every week. And what, like, she just lost her husband. What does she want to sing about? Like, what does she need to sing? You know, and so that's been a good source to know your people who you're in front of every week, you know.
How about you?
Well, I mean, for me, if it's a different perspective, because I was always on the production end of it, you know, working for producers or helping with the, you know, mixing at churches. And so it was always just this joy of hearing songs that were so singable and just truth that you can, you know, get back to the Lord in a response of worship. And so I think for me, it's always kind of been putting myself in the shoes of people that are singing the songs and being able to say, like, if this was me and I was walking in on a Sunday, what would I want to sing in response to the Lord and all he's doing? So that's cool. That's kind of where I come from.
So what, I guess, I'm like a framework and principles guy. And so I just want to know the system, and then I can kind of work within that. What are those kind of frameworks that you operate off of whenever you're writing a song for church versus I want this to be a radio hit, or I want this to be, you know, something else?
Yeah. I'm like, I teach a class, and right now the last 7 weeks we've been doing specifically hymnology, but there was a lot of things even in the hymns that were genius. Same amount of syllables, they would set up a pattern, and I didn't come up with this term, somebody else did, but they talk about an unspoken contract with your singer where you say, if I do this pattern in the first verse, I'm in agreement with you that I'll keep that pattern for all the other verses so that you can think more about what you're singing versus what's coming next and how you're singing it.
Oh, wow. Makes sense.
So syllable count, singing a melody that, we as musicians sometimes can be a little bit snobby with our preferences, but I've got to remember that, like in Buffalo is a very blue collar town. And so I've got guys that are plumbers and guys who are construction workers, and they don't care about my snobby music preferences. They want to sing something
Sure.
that is accessible to them.
Well, and they want to be able to sing it. Like
What does that mean?
what we've noticed, I like to kind of scope the congregation and see what the response is. And if you are in front of people every week, I would first say start watching the men, because a lot of men don't sing anymore. And part of that is due to simply just like Benji sings pretty high. Chris Tomlin sings higher than Benji. So you've got to adjust keys because depending on what the melody is doing, a lot of men can't sing that high. And so it's put men in a position where they're not singing anymore. And we play around a lot when we write, because I'm a female, of course, and I'm always trying to think about the women singing. Like a lot of what happens in a lot of worship choruses is women and men will sing the same on the verse, but then because the chorus jumps up higher, women always get stuck singing a harmony. So sometimes you have to be careful of how far your range is on your song as far as your melody. Like if you look at Cornerstone and the new Chris Tomlin song, Jesus, it's like 5 notes, the whole song. So when you really start to examine the melody and the range and how people respond to that and how much they sing, like it begins to give you some parameters for, again, you're catering the people that you're in front of every week. Like we are singing or helping at a church right now. And what we've noticed about them is they tend to respond more to higher doctrine songs. They tend to respond more to songs that are more hymn-like in format, and really paying attention to how they respond to stuff. And so what we've noticed is it kind of, even though I want to do No Longer Slaves or Amanda Cook's Brave, it's never going to work for them right now. They have to, you have to kind of take them on a journey. You've got to let them trust you. And so, melody and all that stuff is super important, and picking the right key for people to sing is a huge
you got to remember that all these guys, like Chris Tomlin, he's going to record his music at the most, and I'm the same way. I want to record something where my vocal sounds the best.
To you, yeah.
But the worship leaders need to be aware of that and go, hey, we may need to lower it a little bit, because no artist wants to record their stuff in a non-flattering key. So I totally get that. But it's our job as worship leaders to remember we may need to bring that down a few steps, just so that most, just your average singer, it's accessible to them.
We've done stuff too where playing around with keys, like we did one song, Worth It All.
Yeah.
And in the female key, which was A, I think.
Yeah, we did in D when the guy sang it, A when you
sang
it.
So, but then when I sang it, I was singing an octave, of course, above the men, but it put it in a great range for a man, like a man's voice. And so just kind of playing around with stuff sometimes. And that's why I think it works well when you involve male and female voice in kind of deciding on that kind of stuff. Because when we write, if it's catered to a woman's key, I always ask, okay, where does that put the man? Like, is he going to really want to sing this, or is it too low, or too, so super important. Some
specific questions. Let me check on everybody. Hey guys, if y'all are digging this, give me like a yes with a dozen or so exclamation points. How about that? And if you're just kind of joining us, my name is Keith Cook. We are live on music, right here on Music Row in Nashville, Tennessee. We're talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. Let's see what we got. Great. I change all the Chris Tomlin keys. Yes, Barry, I see you. Phil, Gary, Shannon, Carrie, I love it. Amanda, that was only 3 exclamation points. That's okay though. Josh. All right, cool. All right, we're going to jump back in. So you said we've got people who are just starting out on the journey, and you said a few things. This might be super basic, but this is the way I think. You said something about examine the melody, and then you're also talking about seeing how they respond. Like literally, I've been up on stage, singing, and I'm not even thinking about these people are really singing or not. And sometimes I'm so disconnected because I'm just trying to read the chart or whatever. How do you know if they're connecting with it or not? Like, what kind of things are you looking for? And like, how are you examining what needs to take place in order to make it connect, or maybe choosing a better song or
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. A lot of the times we look, I mean, we just had a great conversation about this. We actually went to the Bethel conference and they had a breakout, but she was talking about how, so one thing is sometimes as worship leaders, we feel like we need to close our eyes and we almost go into our own little world. Whereas I kind of feel like as a worship leader, it's our job to make sure that they get to go into their own little world.
All right. So Paul's right there. Did you say that again?
I said, when we're leading worship, we tend to want to go into our own little world with God. And I understand that, but as a worship leader and a servant, my job is to make sure they can go into their own little world, and I need to worry about all the details that they don't have to.
I love that. Yeah.
And so my eyes are open a lot of times, and I'm watching.
That's a bit controversial of a thought, because I know depending on what camp you fall in, like you have varying degrees of.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, when we first started leading worship, our eyes were closed all the time, and we didn't even realize it until we started seeing videos of ourselves. And
so Paul's right there, guys. You remember on the first webinar where we talked about recording yourself? Okay.
Yes.
I said that's what the pros do. I'm talking to pros right now. They do it. That's a big deal.
I think. I mean, we're our own worst critic, and you need to watch yourself. I mean, I still watch myself, and a few weeks ago I was watching and I'm like swaying and I'm thinking that's so annoying. I got to stop doing that. And so next week I have to make a conscious effort to refine that about myself. And, I think we always need to be correcting ourselves so we're not a distraction. Yeah. As far as like watching people, you can see people out there that look like they'd rather be at the dentist. I mean, we all have those, but it's ironic that some of those people are the ones that will come up afterwards and say, man, I love the worship. So you can't always fully assess everyone. And just because no one's raising their hands doesn't mean they're not responding. I just watch who's singing. And again, why I said that about the men is just because that is so much more common, is that men just don't sing as much. And a lot of our songs are more emotional and emotive. And so some men don't maybe always want to go that place, but you can't, just because somebody's not raising their hand doesn't mean they're not responding. And even a lot of what we'll do sometimes is try to give them an opportunity to sing and to hear themselves, which means you adjust your band, or you just go down to a couple of choruses at the end that are just guitar and let them sing. And then you get an idea of, are they catching on? Are they, is this resonating with them?
I'd love to hear your thought on melodies, because you're out in the congregation a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really speak too much into like whether or not people are engaging, but I do know, just from writing over the years, that especially with writing worship songs, that a lot of times, sometimes it's trial and error. Sometimes you don't, from our experience, even sometimes a song isn't done right away. Like sometimes you see how it's led and you see the response of the song, and then you think, oh man, we need to change this bridge because there was this moment that we did this. Mm-hmm. And so I think part of it is just giving space and time for your songs to develop with the people, not necessarily for yourself, if that makes sense.
That makes perfect sense.
But and as far as like I've always been drawn to simple. Like to me, especially as a guy, like simple, being able to sing simple truth is. And I think that's sometimes what she was saying, how brilliant Amanda Cook songs pieces, and as brilliant as You Make Me Brave is, a lot of guys can't do that. They can't sing that for whatever reason, but they can sing Good Father, and they
Yeah.
can sing. I mean, things that are in their key, and
Heard
things,
that one.
things that are simple and they can translate, and kind of things that you get in your car and you go home and that chorus. I mean, you're still singing that chorus.
Yeah,
It's stuck in your head.
expanding too on what you said, like you do have to not only refine the song and maybe change something, but you also have to give it a chance. Like we'll typically, whether it's our song or a brand new song, you need to put it in your rotation for at least 3 times and give people a chance to respond and get used to the song.
Yeah.
You know, it takes 3 or 4 times for people sometimes to grab onto something, and then you can kind of assess that may not be working really great.
So like jumping into like literally the craft, how did you even learn how to write songs? Or I guess songwriting maybe comes really natural to some folks. How did you actually turn pro with it, so to speak, to where you're like, I actually want to write good songs, not just maybe what's coming out, but literally I want to craft them.
I think I mean, for me, like, I've, as long as I can remember, I mean, I really have a hard time even passively listening to music because I'm just always, and that was before I was ever doing this for a living. I just want to know why it works. I want to know, and so because I was always, I remember when the Tomlin "How Great Is Our God," was it Arriving? Was that the album? So it's called, yeah. When that album came out, there were so many moments on that album that I just studied because I was like, man, this is brilliant. Why does this work? And so much of it, there's a reason that we're singing so many of Tomlin's songs, and that's because he writes these things that are word economy. This is just a thing to tuck away. But the greater of a writer you are, the more you can say with less words. So just things like, I mean, honestly, just the weight of a statement, because sometimes you hear people complain about repetition in worship. Well, there are some things that would bother me to repeat, but how great is our God? Like I need a few runs at that to get
okay
it.
saying that a couple times.
There's a song that I've heard the House Fires guys sing, and they build most of the song around it, but it's life is a gift and the giver is good. And they just wear that phrase out. But for me, I'm like, I could sing that about 100 times because it keeps unpacking something different for me. And so sometimes it's knowing how to say a lot more with just a lot less words and still do it in a way that's pretty uniform and straightforward, and you don't like, who was it that I just heard somebody say that surprise a lot of the times in songs pulls people out of the song.
Huh. What does that mean?
Like if I'm singing a line and I go da 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 da, like it's just that weird, sometimes that artistic thing. That's hard to explain.
Which may work when like a pop song or
right,
something.
pop songs it's awesome.
But when you want people to really sing with you and kind of get lost in that, maybe distracts.
So you take some of those moments. You don't want to be throwing head fakes in a worship song where you want like 100 people singing it. Now this is such a base illustration, but I say this all the time. The choreographer who choreographs for So You Think You Can Dance has a very different job than the guy who came up with the electric slide. But we've all done the electric slide at a wedding. Very few of us have ever done the Argentinian.
So that's a definite practice, to push past that point. And like for me, and maybe you too, we're probably a little more melody driven. Benji's definitely more. So you find what your strengths are, I think, a little more. So like on my phone, I may not be sitting down, but I may be vacuuming or doing something, and this melody comes in my head. And so I'll voice memo, and I can't do anything about it right then. But if I don't record it and put it on something, I'm going to forget it. And so I can always go back when I have some solitude and hash it out a little bit more. I don't know if you're kind of like that. It could be like just a short 30-second clip, but it feels like something. And
just get it down.
Yeah, just hum it in your iPhone. And then he may have a lyric that is a great fit. Like, or I spitball what I feel like the melody might be saying, or like, wow, if we got to this on the melody and it said this, like, that's what feels like something like, and I don't know if Matt.
No, yeah, I'm like that too. I mean, I write every day, but then at the same time with worship, sometimes it's just, moments you have with the Lord where you're just kind of like walking or you're doing random stuff, and you pop something in your head, something pops into your head, and you just got to record it. And it's good. Sometimes sometimes beautiful songs are written in pieces like that, where you get a part and it's special. and then it's really your job to steward that part right. Okay,
Yeah.
how do I make this great? Oh, I'm going to call Benji,
Mhm.
or how do I turn this into something? Because I know this is something I feel in my spirit, in my gut. How can I steward this piece well? And sometimes that's just giving it time and waiting for more pieces to come out. Sometimes it's calling
Mhm.
your friends who you trust with it, who you trust with your thing, so, but I mean, I write every day just for practice, and, like Jenna was saying, Benji and I write with artists too, so our songs kind of vary across the board.
I'm gonna check in with these guys, and I want to ask y'all to, in terms of like structure, like actual structure, be thinking about that. All right, so guys, are y'all still digging this? Are you there? Give me the one in the chat stream. I just want to check in on y'all to make sure that everybody can hear us and the internet's not going out and all that kind of stuff. And if you're just now joining us, my name is Keith Cook with the Rocket Company. We're talking about how to write songs that your church can sing. So, like literally the structure of a song that you're working on. Are there ones that work best? I know you get kind of hinted at something like that.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give away one of my secrets here. I feel like one of the things that really helped me as a writer early on is a song to me, and this is more lyrically speaking, but to me a song is a conversation. So if I've kind of come up with, I think I came up with this, I'm pretty sure I did, but I call it the so what method. So to me, your verses, if I'm in a conversation, the verses are what? So they're laying out the information. So for instance, our God is greater. Water you turned into wine. You open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. Those are all what statements. This is kind of so. Then when I get to the so what, well, so what? Our God is greater. That's what. So it's like your chorus becomes this. So this is what I'm going to do with that information. And then so the next verse. Well, the next verse, verse 2, I'd say, well, what else? Well, in that song we sing the verse twice, but it's into the darkness you shine, out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. Okay, well that's what else. Well, what do I do with that? Well, our God is greater. And then when I think about a bridge, so where do I go from so what? Then it's like, well, what then? Well, if our God is for us. So it begins that almost like in a conversational sense, that makes total sense to go, our God is greater. And if our God is greater, then if our God is for us, then who can stand against us? So to me, a lot of times, because you hear, like we've all heard a new pastor preach, and he'll preach the entire Bible, and nobody will really know what the whole message was about. Whereas you'll hear a seasoned pastor preach, and he may literally cover the whole Bible, but you'll still walk away with one thought. And songs need to do the same thing. Like we've all written as early writers, we've written songs where we cover the Old Testament, New Testament, and we go Jonah and Jesus, and everybody's like, "What's this song about?" I don't know. It's provocative. But this, most well-written
Sounds like a Southern
songs,
gospel song.
yeah. But everything in, like for instance, how great is our God? Every line in the verse is still pointing to how great is our God. And so you walk away from that song, and there's really one thought that you walk away from, and that to me is like when you're getting it right.
How about you, Matt?
I mean, he just basically answered the whole question.
I expect like some killer songs from what he just said right there. That was amazing.
I mean, this is just a little melodic thing. It's kind of a trick that I've used that you might be able to use as far as melody wise. Sometimes it's good to like play melody with words. Like if you say hi, bring the melody up. Like if you say steady, like just today I was talking to my friend about a song, and the whole thing, there's like 4 words in the post of this chorus, and it's basically like steady, 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 steady you are. And I was doing it like steady, 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 steady. And he's like, no, it's the word steady, so keep them all the same. So like little tricks like that, like playing melody with words, and structurally everything he said is right on. And
how'd y'all develop just the melodies? I mean, that's such a hard thing for me to do.
I'm the same way. So I'm coming from one who studied it some, but I'd be curious to hear, because to me sometimes it just feels like you roll the dice and hope you get a good one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very, it can be very emotive, and like I said earlier, like the melody line can also, for me, depict what the lyric might say based on how it moves. And I really only sing, and so I gravitate towards that, and the way it makes me feel, and what it you know, how it resonates when I sing it and deliver it too. And another thing I was going to say too about structure, like, you know, don't get caught up too in like having a certain format all the time. Like Benji's song, Yours Will Be, is really, it's hard to almost define the when he first wrote it, it was like, which is the chorus and which is like, it's almost like 3 chunks, like of a song,
Worship
but it all
Legos.
works together. And I think sometimes, you know, I tend to, in a write, be like, well, do like the verse and the chorus are so strong. Like, what else are we going to say in the second verse? Cause it's going to need to be really good. Or like, the Chris Tomlin song you were talking about is really just a verse and a chorus and the bridge. Like, and you say everything you really need to say. So sometimes you have to be careful to fight too much to have too many things being said, because if you've really said the meat, then maybe you do just need to repeat the first verse again. And then bridge, like if it's not a killer bridge, like, do you really need it? Like, you know, is there anything left to say? Do you need a bridge? You know, so I think sometimes you have to be careful of fighting too much for this certain format, you know, because we think, oh, well, that works. So I need verse 1, chorus, verse 2, and then I need a bridge. And then, oh, I may need a pre because that's cool. You know, like you really have to try to not go into something with this certain thing, because sometimes as people are playing in a write, like even messing around on the guitar, that will begin to depict the melody. That will also sometimes begin to depict a pre, like, you know, I mean, you never know. Like you've got to be open to not feeling restricted to always this certain thing.
Yeah, I think the rules have changed a lot with that too. Like, I mean, that United Pursuit song "Set of Fire" is a perfect. I mean, you could flip the chorus and the verse, and they're almost like all
3
choruses.
sections,
It's like 3 choruses sometimes. I think it's just whatever, you know, you guys are responding to in the writing room when you're coming up with melodies and ideas. I mean, if it's turning in your heart and you're going, I'm singing that you're singing it and it feels powerful. Some of it is just instinct. Just trust yourself as a songwriter to know this is something, a special piece, you know, and trust the people that you're writing with to go, okay, well, what about this, and experiment, you know.
A good test too is if you do a song for your congregation and you've written it, don't tell them you wrote it.
Right.
That's
because if they come up and say, hey, where is that song from? Then you know it's a good song.
But if they walk up and go, bless your heart, did you write that? You know, you might want to go back to the drawing board.
That's great.
Hey guys, I forgot to tell y'all, we're doing a Q&A kind of at the end. So I hope y'all have been like putting questions in there. I've been seeing some questions. I might pick 1 or 2 real quick. But put your questions in the chat. And Haley, if you can, just kind of keep slacking those over to me, because the stuff that I've been seeing is amazing. Real quick, maybe 3 or 4 minutes. Well, we've got some people, they have been worship leaders for a long time. How do they just like freshen up their style? And I'm specifically going to Sharon's question. Sharon, you asked that. They are just in a rut, probably songwriting. They're in a rut with the songs that they sing. We've got some resources that should help them pick better songs, but like, what can they do to just freshen it up?
You talking about as far as writing?
I think, writing and maybe even live.
Yeah. I think one of the best things, because I mean, I battle the same thing. A lot of times what binds us as writers is the instrument we play. So if I'm playing guitar, I'm going to write the same song a lot of the time. So sometimes I don't play enough. I play enough piano to write, and I'll sit down and play in the key of C, because that's an easy one to play in. Another thing that like is really a cool, just an extra, this is for writing, but it's kind of amazing, and this is for practice, and you'd need to go back and change some things, but there's so many great like the karaoke tracks on iTunes, but so that you have a sound bed to take that and then go write a completely different melody and a completely different lyric over that. but that still puts you in the confines and the structure of a professionally written song.
All right, say that again.
Just go get a karaoke track of any song.
And just write new stuff to it.
And so you're writing over a chord bed, and you just write your own melody and you write your own lyric.
Hacking the entire process. That's awesome.
What's that?
It's like a hack.
Oh,
Of
totally.
like how to go ahead and get a awesome structure to a song, and probably would help you with melody.
Right, and you can always come back and change the chord bed a little bit or whatever.
Or
but
give it
that's
to a friend who's a musician. Don't
Right.
tell them, and then they write something new too.
yeah, exactly. So that's definitely one. And then just, I mean, like I even as a worship leader, I'm constantly, I just listen to new things and try to find, I like to listen to all types of music because I feel like we're all, like our whole creative process is just a big blender. And so you just got to throw some other things in that mix. It's going to show up somewhere. And so just listening to all sorts of different types of music, different types of worship music. And so, yeah, for me, I just try to throw new things in if I want to get new things out.
Mm-hmm. Matt, what do you think?
I mean, I think intake is, like he's saying, it's really important. I mean, you have to have a really just strong palette of things you're listening to. I mean, and you have to give yourself space to digest those things. Like, I mean, yeah, writing every day is great, but intaking and giving yourself creative freedom and space to have that stuff wash over you is really important. I mean, I'll even go back. I'll listen to old Delirious records sometimes just to bring myself to a place of worship in my own heart, like, and to have those moments, because if you're not intaking, you're not going to be able to output. You know, it's gonna be really stale. You know, and so and just learning those structures and seeing how different people get into the bridge or how many times they do the bridge in a live setting, or, you know, I think all that kind of stuff helps.
So kind of last question for me, and I'm going to spark off of something. David, I don't know your last name, man, but David, you said this question. You've written the song, you got in front of a mic, you did a demo. You think it's probably pretty good because your church is loving it maybe. Then what? There's a handful of people that would like to transition into doing something more.
Yeah.
Like, how do they get any kind of exposure? Do they need to focus more on being an artist, or do they need to make connections? I mean, what if you were mentoring somebody and they wanted to do that, what would you kind of say?
Well, I know for me, the first time I heard the board recording of, I think you sent me yours will be, or maybe it was Worth It All. But the first time I heard the board recording and I heard the response, like, and just how it went, like, I could feel in my gut, like, oh, this is a great song, you know? And so if you could get a board recording, sometimes I think that's even better than a demo.
Yeah, like I would say, because I was that guy for 5 years. I was sending songs to Chad Segura, who was here. He's not here now, but I sent him for 5 years, sent him songs that Word would never be able to use. So
hey, I hope y'all heard that. 5 years that he's doing that. So hang in there.
yeah, you gotta be okay with a long no before the yes happens. But at the same time, I also got to a point though with Chad where it was less about me wanting to get signed as it was, man, just help me write a better song. I think as a steward of your gift, and it's not to learn to write a hit song, it's to learn, like I just had this conversation this morning, learn to write songs that help people. And that's what you're responsible for. You're not responsible. I mean, the reality is, like, and we do this all the time, and still how far a song reaches is so out of our hands. So it's like the only part that I can control is how well I write the song. You know, I have students sometimes that are like, man, I wrote this song and nobody understands my art. And I graciously want to go, no, you just wrote a bad song. It's not the man keeping you down. You need to write a better song. Because we're trying to communicate.
My father-in-law tells a story. He sings in kind of Southern gospel music, and he'll have people come up to him. This is terrible. He's going to hate me for saying it. He'll have people come up to him and say, God told me to write this song, and this is not my words. This is God's words. And we've sat and listened to a few of them. Man, God is like just a terrible writer. I mean, it is really, really bad, some of these songs. So I relate in my own way.
Well, who's the guy that's always at Christian Musician Summit? He's an older guy songwriter, and he's like, somebody said God God gave me this song, and he told them, you need to give it back.
You work on that melody a little bit.
But like, as far as resources and stuff, I was just going to say, I mean, there's so many conferences and all that stuff now, like it may take some diving into and researching, but if you have things that you want feedback on and, you know, to be in front of people, that may be a good source, because you can get to some of these smaller conferences and actually submit a song and get feedback from
Probably co-write, probably network, especially with some of the ones that they've got around in here.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's plenty of those type of things too, to try to get your songs heard, and, you know, it's worth a
Whoever's
shot.
listening from New Zealand, we're just already going to assume that's anointed because it's from New Zealand or Australia. I mean, if you have an accent, you've already got an advantage on the rest of us.
All right, guys, keep putting your questions in there. In just a few minutes, we're going to do some Q&A with these guys. And so y'all's questions have been amazing, very, very specific. And so we're going to go ask them some more stuff about songwriting and a few other things about just the whole publishing world. There's a lot of mystery around that. So we're going to kind of do that. Real quick, I want to tell you, if you are not a Rocket customer, if you are not a Worship Rocket customer, we have got a phenomenal offer. I literally hit the guys up and said, give me the best deal that I can present here. And I want you guys to be a part of this. I'm going to tell you exactly kind of what you get in all the modules. Worship Rocket is designed to help you learn how to speak as well as you sing. You know Todd Fields, and Todd Fields created that training specifically. And it's how to pick the right songs. If you struggle with what songs you should even be picking in worship, there's a module specifically for that. And there's even resources to help you with your team and your bandmates. We also show you, like, how do you find your blind spots? If you're trying to take it to the next level, what can you do to identify those things maybe that are holding you back? How do you even evaluate your worship service? That's a module. And also resources for your team, so that you can bring them into a room and it's not an awkward thing. You can kind of have fun evaluating each other. How to get people to sing. I know some of the questions that came in were literally about, how do I get my congregation to respond? How do I get men to sing? I saw somebody ask that. And how do I find talented musicians? In Nashville, it's a little bit easier. If you're outside of Nashville, though, it's really difficult to find talented musicians. We've got a module and training specifically for that. We've got like email scripts even that you can send out to people. How do I get on the same page as my senior pastor? I know none of y'all struggle with that at all in the chat, but some of us kind of do. And we have resources for that, because that relationship should be so healthy, and it should be driving the gospel forward and creating a gospel culture in your church. How to build a winning worship ministry. We've got a module on that. How to keep your voice in shape. I know for me, when I was singing every single day, after a while, my voice would just kind of go out, and sure enough, I can't do anything after that. So how do you grow your influence? A few of y'all like specifically want to learn how to transition from worship leading into maybe something a bit more. Maybe God's calling you to do a bit more. We've got resources on that. And finally, like, how do you lead when you're just not into it, when you're completely empty? Spiritual formation and Worship Rocket, for me, kind of go hand in hand, because I want to make sure you are completely full. And again, it is my job to like bring resources like these modules, and to work with Todd Fields, work with all of our artists and our guests to create resources for you guys. And for Worship Rocket, I know our offer right now is $79 a month. This is like a starving artist plan. If you're a worship leader and you do not know how to get to the next level, for $79 a month, jump into the courses, start diving into the modules, bring your team around. It is literally one of the better investments that I ever made. I know in my other webinar, I literally told you guys that it made all the difference in me kind of being an amateur and dabbling, and actually committing and drawing a line in the sand and saying, I am going to be a professional worship leader. And that's hard work. If you don't want to do the hard work, maybe this is not the offer for you. But if you're ready and you're confused on why is the church not really, the church culture really not growing? Why are people not singing? Why are people not engaging? Maybe this is a great resource for you. So the cool things that I added, $79 a month is like stupid low, because this entire resource is regular price. If you just go to the Rocket Company website, is a lot more than that. And so I literally got them to add in a couple special bonuses. If you order, like right now, while we're on the webinar, you will get the Lead Worship Well recordings. If you went to that conference, it would cost you about $400. And so this is about 4 hours worth of content, all geared towards worship leaders, helping you establish that culture. We sell it on the Rocket Company website for $299. So if you jump into Worship Rocket while we're on the webinar, you get the Lead Worship Well recordings completely free. So I've just already saved you $299 if you're a worship leader. And the cooler thing is, I know some of you guys were talking about ServiceCraft. Can you see that right there? Boom. And keep putting the questions in there. We're going to jump right back into the Q&A. ServiceCraft is designed to help you map out your worship service. If you can read some of these things, it asks you what songs you're going to sing to engage the congregation. You write it right there. It walks you through the entire process. This saves me hours. It is so amazing. And for your worship meetings, it kind of walks you through the entire process. We sell these on our website for $20. And if you order while we're on the webinar, you get it completely free, completely free. So do y'all want more of a deal, or is that good enough as a deal? Give me a 1 in the chat if you need more. But if you're happy with that price, then we'll be good to go. And Q&A, I'm going to start dialing up some of these questions here. And I feel like if you guys are needing even more of a deal, that I'm going to throw in here the I've not even told the Rocket Company staff about this, so they're going to absolutely hate me. It's the worship service planning system. If you go and buy this on our website, it's $99. And I don't even think it's on the order form. We're going to have to hit you up post because the staff didn't know about it. The things you can do live that you cannot ordinarily do. But it's 100 creative worship service ideas. That's what's in the worship service planning system, a monthly planning guide, planning email templates. It's even got job descriptions for producers and for some of these other roles that you've got there. So we sell it for $99. It's 11 practical resources that you can use. It's crazy, crazy good. So if you order while we're on the webinar, we're going to throw that in for free. If you don't see it on the order form, don't worry about it. It's we'll kind of reach out to you and make sure that you get it. So go now to Worship Rocket Offer. Let's make sure I got that right here. I know there's a link in there. Yep, worshiprocketoffer.com, $79 a month. I want you guys to be members, and I want to see you over in the private Facebook group so that we can kind of continue this training. This webinar that we're doing here will be in the members area. There's not going to be a replay of it. It will be in the members area along with all of our other stuff. So let's jump back into the Q&A. So right now, I know, let me pull it up here. I lost my screen. How do you get men to sing, by the way? Just off the top of my head. That kind of jumped out at me.
I think a lot of it's key for sure. And the way you figure out that some of you, if you're kind of on the early end of this, is men typically, there's always exceptions, but on Sunday morning, men typically are not going to sing much over a D in the middle, on middle C scale. The middle D, you're not going to get many men to sing above that. Now, if you're leading a night service, you might get them up to an E or an F, but in the morning, these aren't hard, fast rules, but generally, especially even baritones, you might not even give them up to a D, you might get them to a C. So you might have to figure out what your melody is and then build the key around that. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Figure out what's the highest note we're singing. So I need to move the key of the song to make sure that I don't have the men singing any higher than a D or a C on Sunday morning. And then sometimes it is when we sang, I'm still convinced, this is just my opinion, I'm convinced that blues is the love language of men. So part of me is at some point we got to figure out how to get blues
pentatonic in there.
Well, yeah, there are just songs that feel more manly.
Men want to bow up. Mm-hmm. A mighty fortress is our God.
I think of what is it, Onward Christian Soldier?
Yeah.
When I hear that, it's just let's do this. I love it. All right, I'm just going to knock these out real quick. Yeah. Feel free to be as brief or as long as you want. But Are you writing on your computer or a notepad, pen? What are you doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the above, whatever mood I'm in.
You said all of the above too?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's see. Are you critiquing your songs before you use them live? That feels like a given, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And then there's some ways you just won't know till you fly it out there.
They always seem like it goes through like 5 filters with people or
Before you feel confident,
Yeah.
probably to get Do you write? Okay, this is Lonica. This is a kind of cool question. Do you write from the message that the pastor is doing? Like, was there any time where it's like, hey, pastor, hey, go write me a song like this?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you another master ninja skill.
I love it.
Every pastor has a stack of books they're reading on their desk. Get ahead of them.
Read them.
Read it ahead of time. Write songs from that book, because that book will be showing up somehow in their message. And so just coincidentally, 2 months out from now, you'll have a song that lines up perfect with their message. And then, there's times definitely where I work with my pastor and say, hey, I'm preaching on this. And you need a little bit of time to do that, but definitely. And then for those of you whose pastor preaches last minute or knows what he's preaching on last minute, you always know Christmas is coming. You always know Easter's coming. You always know there's going to be a Lord's Supper service. So even write for those moments, because those always show up in the church calendar.
Mm-hmm.
That was supposed to be a short answer, but it wasn't. Sorry.
No, that was awesome. This is also a cool question. Jesse, what songwriting tools do you use? Are you using Master Writer? I don't know what that is. Evernote, Google Drive, Thesaurus Dictionary, probably everything, probably.
I mean, I would say almost everything I write ends up in Google Drive at some point, just because
It's safe.
I've got tons of songs that are just in there, and it's easy to pull up on my phone or on my computer.
And share them probably too.
Yeah, and if I'm writing with somebody who lives across the country, we can both pull down and share it. I use Google Hangout a lot when I write with people, because sometimes I'll write with somebody across town, and so he doesn't have to drive 45 minutes. We can jump on Google Hangout and then get on with somebody else in a different state, and the three of us could all be on at the same time, that's a really cool tool. But I guess that's not really for the mechanics of lyric.
How do you know when to throw a song out?
Throw it out, you mean to test fly it or to actually get rid of it?
They didn't say. Let's say both.
Okay.
I bet though that's just a bad song.
Well, go ahead.
Sometimes it's good to shift gears. I think, like if you guys have been spinning your wheels for like an hour and a half, or usually you can tell like, okay, maybe we need to start fresh.
There can be songs that maybe just one section of it, if you never do anything with it, that chorus ends up showing up in another song, so it's not a complete loss.
Yeah.
Can you give advice? This is from Abraham, in how to share a new song with the worship team. That can always be a little like, it's a confidence thing, and it's like it can be weird.
Yeah, and if so I'll just speak this from the perspective that you're the worship leader. With the worship team, and especially teaching the band, like if you don't have a produced demo, you have to kind of share with your band what you're hearing in your head.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times that's where you do kind of go into Jack Black mode, where you're like, the guitars are going, but you have to be willing to kind of be foolish like that. I'm hearing the drums do this. Like my drummer used to drive him crazy, but I would just play mouth drums. I was like, I don't know, I'm hearing like Jack and Diane for this song. So
cool.
you got to produce it out for your band, but then for your singers, you just have to err on the side of over communication, and then also trust that the musicians in the room are smart enough. They may have some creative input to make the song better too.
Okay, how do people get connected with y'all? Are you Facebook people, Twitter people, Instagram people? Give me the handle real quick. What?
Matt Armstrong 14.
Matt Armstrong 14. Okay.
Benji Cowart, and then
This is Twitter,
Facebook, and
okay.
Instagram for me. And then we have one
We have
together.
a Facebook music.
Yeah.
That we use. Benji and Jenna Cowart Music
Okay.
on Facebook.
Awesome. This has just been, I think from the couple hundred folks that we had on, like this has just been stupid incredible. So thank you for taking time to do this. Matt, Benji, Jenna, thank you so much. Guys, give me like a yes or a one or something to let me know that you're still around here, and to show these guys love. Go follow them on Twitter, follow them on Facebook. If you want more stuff like this, let me know, and we will kind of keep it going. This literally exists for you guys. So thank you for being on, and go to worshiprocketoffer.com. I want to see a lot of you guys in the membership area, and let's keep this thing going on Facebook and that private Facebook group. But thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we might just kind of keep rolling for just a minute while we're chit-chatting here. But yeah, this was so great. So thanks for doing it.
Awesome.
And the stuff you're talking about is, in my mind, like it's genuinely next level stuff, which is the exact thing that I was wanting. That's just, it's awesome. Very cool.
Cool.
When, how long have y'all been a part of Word?
I've been, let's see, I sent what, Trevor, maybe like 5 years.
2010.
2010.
2010.
5 years.
Hey, shout out to Jonathan Mason for hooking this entire thing up. We did it over lunch. I love doing deals over lunch at Chewy's. And, well, awesome. We're good.